Hello friends, and welcome to my kitchen. Today we're going to talk about pickled okra. I'm going to show you how to do it. It's really easy, doesn't take very long at all. It does not take a pressure canner, it only takes a water bath. So let's get started right now. So I have my okra and I have washed it. I got this from several different places, some from our local farmer's market and some of it come out of my garden. I use the ones that are a little bit harder than what I want to cook for a family meal, just because it's going to be pickled and it doesn't really matter. Fresh is good as well. So if you use the harder ones, they stay a little bit more crispy if you like the crispier pickled okra. I do have 2 jalapeno peppers. I'm going to cut some slices and put in my jars, not the whole pepper. I do have some serrano peppers. I'm going to put 1 pepper in each. We're going to put some garlic in there. We're going to put canning and pickling salt into our pot over here. We're going to have 4 cups of distilled white vinegar. This is 4 cups. It's 32 fluid ounces, so it's this whole container, plus 2 cups of water, and then 2 tablespoons of our canning and pickling salt. Doesn't matter what brand. So first of all, I'm going to put my 4 cups of vinegar, 2 cups of water, 2 tablespoons of my salt, and I'm going to get that boiling. I'm going to fill up my pressure canner. We're not going to pressure can it, I'm just using it as my hot water bath. But we're going to fill it up because you're going to put your jars in so you have enough water to cover 1 to 2 inches over the jars and bring it to a full rolling boil. So I'm going to go ahead and do that and I'll be right back. So I have my 4 cups of white distilled vinegar, 2 cups of water, and 2 tablespoons of my canning and pickling salt into my pot. That's what we're going to put inside the jars once we get our okra and our peppers and all of our seasonings in there. Over in my pressure canner pot, I have it full. For a pressure canner, you use the rack in the bottom and you put just enough water to cover the rack, and then the steam inside of the pressure canner is what actually seals your jars. In a water bath, you're going to cover the jars. So we have filled it up, but you still need a rack on the bottom. You don't want your jars sitting on the bottom of your pot. So you can use any pot as long as you have a rack that can fit down into it. So you just need something that your jars will sit down on top of. So I'm going to put my rack in here, push it down to the bottom just like it normally would, so that my jars can sit on top. So while that is heating up, I have both of them on high. I need a good rolling boil. While that is heating up, I'm going to cut my okra, get my peppers, my garlic, and all my other seasonings in my jars, and get them ready to put my vinegar, water, and salt into my jars while it's boiling. Then we're going to put our lids on and put it over into our hot water bath. So I'm going to work on my okra while my pot of vinegar, water, and salt is coming to a boil, and then I'm letting my hot water bath also come to a boil so that it won't take as long to process my jars. So I'm going to take my okra and I'm going to cut off this tip where you pulled it off of the plant, or someone did. So you just cut that tip off so that it's whole here, and then you cut off this tip down here. All you're doing is making it where the vinegar can go through while it's pickling, and it just gives it more flavor. If you see any bad spots on it, just cut them off as well. You can still use them. So I'm going to get busy on my okra, and then I'll show you how to pack them in the jars. So I have cut quite a bit of my okra. So one point I did want to bring up is that some people leave their okra whole and they put the whole thing in without cutting the tip off. So then when they take it out, they just hold the end and eat it down to here and then throw it away. You can do it either way. I prefer just to cut it off just so the vinegar can get down in it. I don't know that it's any better. It's just really a preference for whatever you like. So today I'm just going to cut both the tips off, just because that's what I prefer. You can do it either way you want to. So I want to talk about the spices a little bit. Today I'm going to use the whole peppercorns, and then the peppers, the serrano peppers, and the jalapeno peppers to put in there. It really depends on what kind of spices you like. I would experiment a little bit with what you like, how hot you want it, how mild you want it. Maybe do one of each and then you can compare later. So I think I have enough okra cut for my jars. We'll see. One trick is that you put one way this way and then you do the other way, and you can pack more in there. If you want them looser, then you can put them all the same way. I prefer to do one way and then one the other way. It's really how you want it. So I just take my jar and kind of put it to the side, and I start packing them in, and I try to get a good layer before I put my peppers in. So I'm gonna take this one out. So maybe half, a little more than half. So now that I've got this in here, I'm going to slice up one of my jalapenos that I've already washed, just like my okra. Just gonna put some slices. I'm gonna leave the seeds in because that makes it a little hotter. This one doesn't have very many seeds. So I'm gonna put this one, and then I'm gonna put the end that does have seeds. I'm just gonna put 2 slices in there. For my serrano peppers that I've already washed, I'm just going to cut the top off and leave the rest of it and put the whole pepper in here. So I'm also going to put a 1/4 teaspoon of whole black peppercorns into each jar. Just about that many, and I'm just going to dump them in there. So the salt is already in your vinegar and water mix over here, so no need to put any more salt in here. So this is all I'm going to put in here. Like I said, you can put mustard seeds, you can put whatever kind of spices that you like, any other kind of peppers. You can put cowhorn peppers, you can put hot banana peppers, you can put regular banana peppers, just whatever you would like and whatever you prefer, you can put into the jars. So I'm going to finish packing this jar. Just get it where you can pack it down as tight as you can. Just squeeze the smaller ones into the holes. And then I'm going to come up with some smaller ones on top, just to kind of fill in the gaps. So then I have a whole jar packed, and I have my peppers inside. So I'm going to continue on with my jars. Same thing, about half full, and then I'm going to put my peppers in. So one thing I forgot is 1 clove of garlic. Now that I have my jars packed, so I'm going to go back and put my 1 clove of garlic in each jar. So this little trick, just use a large knife and just mash it, and you can peel it really easy, and you can get your clove out. So there's 2 cloves. I'm going to put 1 clove in each. Again, just smash it a little bit. Get your clove out really easy. Put your clove in here. So I need 1 more. So I have packed my jars, and I have 2 slices of jalapeno pepper in each jar. I have 1 serrano pepper in each jar. I have 1 clove of garlic, and I have a 1/4 teaspoon of whole peppercorns. So that's the only spices that I'm going to put into mine today. So my vinegar, water, and salt mix is boiling now. I'm going to take my jars over here. I'm going to fill them up, make sure I wipe the tops really good, and then put my lids on. And put up under my jars just in case I spill a little bit. It won't make quite as big of a mess. So another thing I want to point out is that I use the wide mouth jars for this. Normally when I'm canning peas or potatoes or carrots or whatever it is, I use the smaller mouth. But when you're doing the pickled okra or pickled anything where you have the larger pieces, I like to use the wide mouth jars. that you can get for canning purposes, and you put it down in there and it lets the air bubbles come out. So I'm going to poke it down in there and then finish filling up my jars and let the air bubbles out. Just shake it a little bit and you can see the air bubbles come up, and then you can see your mixture, your water mixture go down, and you'll know that you have to put some more in there. Careful, the jars are very hot. Put my okra back down and finish filling them up. I'm just going to take a clean, wet rag and wipe the rims of my jars to make sure they're clean. So now that my jars have the boiling water mixture in there and I have the lids on them, I'm going to set them over into my water bath. I'm going to make sure I have enough water to cover them 1 to 2 inches. If I don't, I'm going to put some more water in there, let it come back to a rolling boil. Then we're going to put a lid on it, not a pressure canner lid, just a regular lid. That's when you start timing. Jars in my pressure canner pot that I'm going to use for my hot water bath. I have about 2 inches of water over the top of my jars. It is at a good rolling boil now, so I'm going to put my lid on. Just a regular lid, not a pressure canner lid. I'm going to set my timer for 15 minutes and we're going to let it boil. You may have to turn it down a little bit if it starts to overboil. My 15 minutes is up. I'll be back and I'll show you the end product. So my timer just went off, our 5 minutes are up, and so I'm gonna show you the pot, show you inside the pot. So my jars are finished, I'm gonna take them out. So there you have it, pickled okra. Just let them sit for a couple of hours. You should hear all of the lids pop down. It's a distinct pop. Once they pop, just set them to the side. They should last up to a year, sometimes 18 months. I don't like to go over a year. Once the top is dry, go ahead and put your date of when you can them so that later on you'll know what date that was and you'll know when your year's up. One thing I do want to say is if you do not hear the lids pop down, then your seal did not work, and those you need to go ahead and put in the refrigerator, and you need to eat those within the next month or so. Don't put them in the cabinet thinking that they're going to last, because they won't if it doesn't seal. Only the ones that you can hear the distinct pop and you can't push it down and you don't have the give for the lid, as long as it's down, then you know that it's sealed really good and that it will last for that year. So I hope you enjoyed the video and hope to see you again.